Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Your Spiritual Journey. This is Dr. Bob, and this is the space and the place where we talk about things important to your soul. And boy, do we have a guest today. She was recommended to me by Sven Horsford, and you may have listened to his episode a couple weeks ago. But he credits our guest with turning his entire life around and putting him on the right path. And he said, you just got to interview Jasa. And I'm just so happy to have her with us. When you go on your website, you'll just be blown away with everything that she offers. And I'll have a link to her website from my website, yourspiritualjourneypodcast.com. So Jasa Johnson is a Pittsburgh, PA-based Shamanic Energy Healer. Just that statement gives us so much to talk about. Her depth and breadth of study and extensive global travel have enabled her to offer a unique blend of healing skills and modalities. Her broadened shamanic and cross-cultural perspectives make her uniquely capable of supporting, enhancing, and guiding individual transformational needs. She calls on the client's spiritual support team to generate healing. She summons your ancestors, ancient ones, healers, guides, teachers, and evolved beings from across time. During each session, she guides clients to a deepened awareness of the presence of spirit, light, inter- and higher dimensional helpers, and mythical beings, along with the elemental energies of earth, air, fire, water, and ether. She was initiated as a Shamanic Priestess of Isis and also as a Dragon High Priestess with the power and presence of Dragon and Naga helpers, and they're an active part of most healing sessions. She speaks, sings, and chants using light language, a dynamic, non-linear encoding of sound, light, and vibration that bypasses both thought and form to usher in deeper healing. She has studied with a variety of spiritual teachers in a great number of disciplines. And I'm not going to read that list to you, but if you go on her website, you can see how many people she's studied with. And I could tell you what the website says about when you work with her, what happens, but I'm going to ask her to explain that. And I think I'll stop there with the introduction because there's just so much to say about her, and I'd like to hear directly from her. So, Jasa, if you would, just take us on a tour of your spiritual journey, and then we'll get into some of this good stuff.
So I was in the closet and I had a visitation from an angel, and the angel said, I know this is going to be hard, but you must survive your upbringing because the work you need to do in the future will require you to have the strength that you'll gather during this time. And I did what I call the life stuff. I grew up, I went to school, I got married, I started working, I did all of the things I was told I was supposed to do. But I had this yearning inside me that I could not override. And as I moved through my 20s and into my 30s, I felt this pull. And I tried to ignore it. And in ignoring it, I started having a lot of physical problems. And at one point, I went in for emergency surgery. And while I was there, I had an encounter with Jesus. It was not my only encounter, but it was an encounter. And I remember waking up from surgery and having this presence there and I said, thank you, God, for sparing my life. Anything you want of me, anything you want to ask of me, I will do. And I heard the voice say, will you change your life? And I said, yes. Will you leave your marriage? I said, yes. Will you move to another city and start your life over? I said, yes. I did not know what that would require. I just knew that I had already given my word and I couldn't go back. And it was during that time I was drawn into looking at alternative ways of being on the planet. And I happened to be home recuperating. And I remember I went out to get my mail, and there was this huge catalog from something called the Whole Life Expo in California. And I saw people that were doing all kinds of magical things. And I had to go. And it was subsequent after that that I found out about Michael Harner and his teaching with the foundation studies. And I knew that I had to study with him. And I sent him an application. I was one of about 65 people that came in from around the world. And it was there during that process with Michael Harner that literally, in one of the shamanic experiences that we were being guided through, I had a one-on-one with encounter with Jesus. Jesus stepped through my body. I felt him go through. He appeared back in front of me. And rather than being this luminous light being that I had seen ahead of time, he said, I am taking the form of the Sunday school Jesus you grew up with.
Uh-huh.
That is not what I am. That is what your mind has been trained to see, but I am light. And so as a result, I have been on a quest for connecting people with light, because my relationship with Jesus is always one of light. And I get that people can be impacted by the darkness in the world and the darkness in their individual situations. But in dealing with all of the stuff of life, people forget that they are light. They forget that they were created in the image of the divine, whatever divine is for you. So in my work, in my practices, in my protocols, in all of the healing modalities that I have created, it has been because of the teachings that I get literally up in my temple. I have a temple on the top of my house. It is working with that light, bringing people back to that light, calling on that light, asking for whatever needs to happen to infuse that person with the light and reignite them. A lot of the work is about realigning, reawakening, reorganizing, reprogramming, reminding people that they are so much more than their pitiful little worries and all of their anxiety. And the quest for how do I do that has taken me to work with a lot of different people. And I feel very blessed to be able to do this work now. At one point, my second husband was teaching at the Esalen Institute. And one of the things we noticed about going to workshops, me going to workshops, him going to workshops, was that a lot of times when you are in a spiritual opening and you go to a workshop, you might, if you're lucky, get 2 or 3 moments one-on-one with the instructor to ask your particular question, to have someone really hear you. And I realized for me that was not enough. And so my husband and I started creating something called the Personally Guided Spiritual Retreat. And that's when you have a person either meet you somewhere or come into your home and give you one-on-one focused attention for an extended period of time. I am not a licensed therapist. I do a lot of therapy with people, and I've done a lot of therapy myself. But I understand there is not a whole lot you can get done in an hour. And if you really want progress, if you really want to see movement, you have to be in a saturated environment, and you have to have an experience of being, as Jean Houston would say, having all of your burners turned up to high. And she believed that there was nothing anyone couldn't do if they activated all of their senses all the time and gave themselves an opportunity to completely step into their life rather than maneuvering around the perimeter. And once you give yourself permission to fully step in, marvelous things can happen. And my job, as I have given myself, is to literally push you to your edges, guide you, support you, encourage you, direct you. And when you get to the edge, push you off. Because at that edge, at that moment of decision, the decision is, am I going to fall or am I going to fly? And the choice is yours. I believe everyone has the capacity to fly, regardless of what their history or upbringing or personal situation is. I believe that we are programmed to excel. But all of the stuff that happens to us growing up, all of the things and expectations and belief systems and thought forms that are embedded in us by the socialization process, it interferes with us knowing what our truth is. And I am giving people an opportunity to reclaim themselves. And that is why I do what I do.
Okay. Those are very inspiring words, I guess. I'm with you 100% just because I've had my own encounter with Jesus. And because, and looking at your website and seeing what you offer, I'm curious about a couple things. One is the Metatron experience that you offer. And that is because he is one of my guardian angels, and I communicate with Metatron fairly frequently. So I'm just curious as to what your Metatron experience offering is all about.
Okay. 2 years ago, I went with one of my friends who is also a shamanic teacher, and we went to Costa Rica. And one morning we were sitting out on the balcony, and the balcony overlooked the jungle. And I noticed that the jungle had suddenly gone completely quiet. There were no howler monkeys, no birds, no planes, no anything. The sound was deafening. And I looked at her and I said, Kimberly, incoming, something is coming, prepare yourself. And this energy literally overcame us. It felt like a wave of light that came and engulfed both of us. And I spoke out loud and I said, who is here with us? And the voice that answered back said, it is I. It is Metatron. I had no idea who Metatron was. Although I work with angels, I couldn't tell you I'm not Catholic. I couldn't tell you the name of any angel other than Michael. And he said, I have come to seed you with my light, to bring it through and to offer it. And I remember I was being affected by myself. And I looked over at my friend Kimberly, who looked like she was having some kind of spasm. And I'm thinking, I love you, girlfriend, but you're on your own right now. I got to do my own thing. And feeling this presence, I felt a shift inside of me that I could not verbalize because I didn't have any language that could capture it. I just knew that it was connected to light. And so the next day, we had a similar experience with this being coming back. And I didn't know what he wanted of us. And he just kept saying, take this energy back with you. And when Kimberly and I got back, we started talking, and we came up with this Metatron healing. So it's very interesting. When I got to Costa Rica, we went into a furniture store. And in the furniture store, there was a glass case that had these crystals in it that I had never, ever seen. I probably owned 4,000 crystals. I thought I had seen just about everything. And when I started doing research on this particular crystal, it's called a fire and ice crystal. It's also called a cracked quartz crystal. And I'm looking at the crystal and I'm hearing Metatron say, "This is my stone. This is what humans are. We are perfectly formed, but cracked on the inside. The outside looks polished and perfect, but all of the fissures in the stone are what make you magnificent. And I want you to take this teaching back to Pittsburgh, is where we're from. Take this back and hold this energy." And so when I came home, Kimberly and I both started searching out these crystals, and we set up these large grids with Metatron. We got Metatron statues, and we got lots of crystals, and we set up this great thing on the floor. And we invited people in, and we told them, we don't know what's going to happen. We just know that we're supposed to create the space, hold the energy, call in Metatron, and ask him what we're supposed to do. And as we did this, the same energy that entered us while we were in Costa Rica entered the room, entered each of us, and then proceeded to channel through us into the people that were there. And so part of what we do in our own individual practices is that she brings the energy in when she's working on clients, and she does a lot of craniosacral work on clients. I bring the energy in when I'm working on clients, and I literally asked Metatron to present himself and place his Metatronic cube inside the heart of the person that I'm working on, to activate the grid, to activate the light, to activate the sense of connection, and to reawaken the dormant codes in their blood, in their DNA, in their cellular system, to bring them back to life. I have found in my work that a lot of people walk around and they're dead. They don't know they're dead, so they haven't laid down so dirt can be thrown over them. But in the process of all of these years, I see that people die in a lot of different ways before their body finally gives out.
Right.
And right now we are in a massive reawakening that requires people to turn all the burners up to high. And you can't do that if you're going to go, I like this, I don't like that. There's nothing wrong with discernment. But if something is coming to you, there's something that you need to learn. There's something that you need to embrace. There's something that you need to examine, whether it's external or internal, whether it's in a primary relationship or secondary relationships. Everything here in Earth School is about learning to remain in balance, regardless of what's going on around you. And Metatron is a perfect example of that.
Okay. I'm already wanting to come visit you just for that for that experience.
Okay.
Well, because my understanding is we are all the light, and we are here to express that light and to share that light. And it's just a matter of coming into our own and understanding,
Yes.
who and what we are.
We are so much more than our thoughts. That's part of the issue. We have forgotten that we are magnificent, even in our brokenness, even in our bad choices, even if, you're in jail or you're on drugs or whatever. We were created to be magnificent. And even if you can only hold that for 10 seconds, it's still there. It never goes away. And I tell my clients, you may have forgotten your contract with God, but God didn't forget his contract with you. Right. And your job is to do the best you can to remember it. And all of the experiences in your life are to help you remember you are working through a sacred contract, and this is what it looks like. The people that come in to break your heart are to strengthen you. The reason your heart is breaking open is to let out all of the fallacies and the lies and the misinterpretations that need to be released so that your heart can grow and be stronger. Spirit speaks in a whisper. Then if you don't pay attention, you get a tap on the shoulder. You don't pay attention to that, you get a shove to the ground, and then you get knocked to your knees. That's how it works. And so waking up, bringing in the light, requires you to pay attention. And most people are so distracted, they have no idea that all of this magnificence is working on them all the time.
Yeah. I just returned from a spiritual retreat that featured Greg Braden and Bruce Lipton and Sue Morter and Anita Morjani. And their message was very similar to your message. But one of the things that Greg Braden said was that somewhere in the next 5 or 6 years, probably around 2030, is going to be that critical point with everything that's happening right now, because we're coming into a major event in this world, and the need to become our higher selves as quickly as possible. Is there any sense of urgency on your part around what's going on in the world right now when it comes to politics and economics and religion and the climate crisis and all of that seeming coming to a head very soon? What is your take on all of that?
The world that we live on, the globe that we live on, the Gaia sphere that we live on is expanding. The frequencies and codes for evolution have been activated, and there can no longer be a denial of that. And if people think that things are static, when literally the world is on fire, there is snow in places where there's never been snow, fire in places. I'm a Californian. I lived there for 60 years. Never has there been fires like this or Santa Ana winds this time of year. My first husband worked at the Department of Forestry. Everything is being turned upside down. The world is being upended to wake people up. Literally, the poles are shifting. And if it's happening to something as big as the biosphere, it's also happening to us. You can deny it and you can pretend that that's not true. And you can keep doing the things that you have been doing that are not in service to anything but your ego. But it's not working. We are being called to higher things. Our frequencies are changing. Our DNA is changing. Our sense of purpose is changing. And it is no longer acceptable to live the fallacy that you go through life and then you die. We're here for a purpose. We are on a divine mission. And if you think about that every day, and you think about you being an essential part of creating the heaven that we all want to live in. I don't necessarily want to live in heaven when I die. I want to live in heaven every day. What am I doing to create that? Not just externally, but in myself. And I can't do that from worry, from fear, from lack, from not enoughness, from continually trying to heal my childhood and go back 50 years and pretend that I don't know me. People are so focused on knowing somebody else that they've forgotten that you come in by yourself and you leave by yourself. And God is there waiting for you on either end. What are you going to do with the middle? And so the rituals, the death rituals, the cord cutting, the energetic frequencies, the light language, the frequency changes that are happening with people is all about this evolution. It's not just coming, it's here. If you're paying attention, it's here. If anybody has been looking and watching the Schumann resonance, something is going on. And, about 3 weeks ago, I had a friend over and we were doing a meditation. And I did a healing on her. And while I was waiting for her to come out of the other world, I was offering a prayer. And my prayer was, Jesus, we need you here now. The world is upside down. We need you to come and right this thing so that we can get back into balance. And I clearly heard the voice of Jesus say, I am already here. So you may think it's coming in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. But you can live as if that is true for you. Christ is already here. Change is already here. Destruction and evolution is already here. Are you going to keep running the same story and patterns that got you in this pickle in the same way? Or are you going to step into your greatness and step into something bigger than yourself and bigger than your perceived limitations?
That's the question, I think. And that's the offer,
Yes.
and that's the opportunity. And we just have to step into it. Now,
and believe it's possible.
On your website, one of the things that you offer involves the use of sound and laser healing tones in preparation for purging your system and recalibrating it. And I was curious as to what a laser healing tone is, because I'm not familiar with that.
Well, many years ago when I lived in Santa Cruz, California, I studied toning with a woman. I can't remember her name right now, but she talked about how there is a specific color with each of the chakras. There's also a specific tone that goes with each of the chakras. And one of the things that I have been taught by spirit is that when you open I call it a spirit hole above the head. It's the place where energy comes in from the divine. When you focus a specific tone and you hold that tone for 15 or 20 seconds without varying it at all, that frequency and resonance goes right down through the top of your head and goes down your spine and shoots through your body. It's good for breaking up stuck energy. It's good for realigning all of the systems in your body. Sometimes if I'm working with someone, let's say, that has reproductive issues or is blocked with their creative issues or is dealing with a miscarriage or a trauma of some type to their womb, literally cupping my hands and making a sound and sending that sound directly into the body will be far more effective than any energy work I could do, because you not only have the sound, you have the vibration from the voice, the warmth from the body, the human to human transition that allows the system to expand so that something new can come in. People tend to stay, when they have some kind of trauma, people stay contracted around that trauma. But when you open that trauma up and you create a clear path for these things to actually exit the body, miracles can happen. And you probably can't tell from my website, but when I work on people, I do a lot of prep work before I actually do any energetic work on them, because they have to take responsibility for their life. They're not coming to me saying, fix me so I'll be all better. That's not my job. My job is to create the space and hold the energy and have the container for you to fix yourself. So I work with the drum. Sometimes the drum is 6 feet away, and sometimes I will put the drum right up next to your body and literally beat the crap out of it, because you need to have those energetic patterns you're holding in place broken up. Sometimes it's me actually having you lay down and me putting, I don't use bowls or anything, but putting the drum with my hand on your body and the drum right over it, drumming into the body to break up something that's stuck. Most people have a lot of stuck, old, archaic energy in them. They have energetic patterns that don't belong to them. They have agreements stuck in there that they didn't make. They have belief systems that belong to another person, place, or time. And in the process of moving through, working with lots of different people, one of the things that I've seen that is the most troubling is and causes the most suffering is people making an attempt to live with agreements that they don't agree with, belief systems that they don't believe, and exhibiting behaviors that someone else told them was appropriate or that they saw and thought was appropriate, but are not in alignment with their divine unfolding. And in the prep work, when you're working in the medicine wheel, one of the things I do is I have lots of rocks, but I create literally a medicine wheel on the floor and have the person get inside it. It becomes a living altar where you're working in the east with the energy of mind and emotion. You're working in the south with fire and transformation. You're working in the west with water and ancestry. You're working in the north with Gaia and the energy of reclaiming and rebirthing yourself. That's all necessary to prime the spot so that when I'm doing the energy work on you and you are in a restful state, you can receive what I'm offering. And people have to be ready to receive it. They can't think that they can receive it. They have to know that they can receive it. And when you do tones, when you do sounds, when you do drumming, when you work with a thunder drum all around someone, all of those things are required in order to just break up the energy patterns. Laser tones is one thing. Light language is another thing. Actually, sometimes it's necessary to embody a divine being and call them in to send energy through your body into that person so that they can have an experience of what's possible. I'm thinking of a woman that I had who was a Hawaiian woman, and when she was 5 years old, her parents moved to the mainland because they needed to support her, and they left her with her grandmother. But the program that she was put in was that my family didn't love me and they didn't want me. And she was like in her 50s by the time I met her, and she still had a broken heart from being left at 5 years old. And when I called in Mother Mary actually came through, and I asked Mother Mary if she would take golden thread and a golden needle and sew up the heart of this person. But before that could be done, help her heart release the trauma that had been stored in there. And I remember my right hand was laying on her heart, and her heart felt like it was I can't even explain. It was like it was doing like this, just moving up and down. And she opened her eyes and she said, "What is that?" And I said, Mother Mary is here, and she is releasing the stored trauma in your heart. Now you can unwind all of this. Now you can let a new frequency come in. Now you can feel the true love that you have been repressing all this time because your heart has been healed. And you never know how it's going to work out. Sometimes I am guided to sing a song. Anybody who's done ayahuasca knows that the ayahuasqueros during the ceremony, they do what are called icaros, and they are shamanic songs. And I will sing a song into a heart or into a chakra or into the top of the head. And when I'm doing the work, I always ask, I call it the big four. I have God the Father at the head, Mary the Mother on the left, unless you're right-handed, or unless you're left-handed. If you're left-handed, she goes on the other side. I have Mary the Magdala on the other side, and I have Jesus the Christ at the feet. And I always ask Jesus, open all the valves on the body so that whatever needs to come out can find easy exit. Open all the orifices on the body so that whatever needs to leave can leave from wherever it is. Begin priming the body and sending your energy from the knees down to the feet, moving your hands from the knees to the feet to prime the muscles so that they know which way the energy needs to go. There's no ambiguity in that. And having these four beings lay their hands on you to assist in your healing. Because I'm not doing it. I am the human vehicle that this experience, this energy, this light is coming through. But I am holding the space for whatever that person needs, because I, the small human being, don't know what they need. I just know that they're there. And if they're there, when people come to see me, because I don't do advertising, I don't do Facebook, I don't do a lot of things. By the time people come and see me, I know that I'm the person that they're supposed to work with. It's not magic, but it is magic all at the same time. It is igniting the divine in everything. Calling on the rock people, calling on the stone people, calling on the crystal people, calling on the angels, calling on all of the divine beings, all the ones that I can name. And sometimes I have people, the demons come out of them, and then I have to stop what I'm doing and deal with the demons. So you never know what's going to happen, but you have to be prepared for everything. And if it's using a sound is the thing that drives the energy through. If using a sound is the thing that moves energy so that something else can emerge through that. If using touch or using vibration is what is required, you do what needs to be done. And that's why every single session is different. And I also don't foster dependence with people. I figure if you need my help and you want to come a second time, call me. But I'm not going to say, okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. You may not ever need me again. And a lot of people that come never come back again because they have been activated so fully. They now can take the step that they require to step fully into their lives and stop pretending that they don't matter, because they do.
Okay.
Did that answer your question?
More than sufficiently.
Okay.
One of the other things that you offer is Christ light healing. And
Yes.
I get it that Christ and light are sometimes interchangeable, as when we talk about energy and Christ consciousness and what Christ is about, and even when we maybe invoke the fact that the second coming of Christ is now. I mean, that Christ is here among us because Christ is in us. And that is what that second coming is meant to be, that we understand that we have the light of Christ within us. So, and maybe I shouldn't talk about my own beliefs like that, but what is your interpretation as what happens if I come to see you and say, okay, I'd like a Christ light healing as described on your website, what would take place?
Well, first I would want to understand or understand what it means to you, what exactly it is that you're dealing with, struggling with, or that you need assistance with. Because I need to determine if you are the right person for me to work with. Humans like shiny things. They like new experiences. There is experience junkies that go from one healer to the next healer to the next healer, and I don't do that. So first I want to know what your level of sincerity is, because when I go into the altered state of connecting with these divine energies, sometimes it takes me 2 days to recuperate from the experience. I focused all of my thought patterns, my energies, my experience into the moment, and I give that to you because that's my work. And when people come in for what would be a Christ-like healing, I would have them on my massage table. That's the first part. And I would have them, I have these two crosses. They're identical, and they lay on the massage table, and I have them place their hand on a cross. And then I have some beads that I make. They're prayer beads, and they're called Mother Mary prayer beads. And Mother Mary told me how to make them. And they have a Mother Mary at one end that lays over the heart, and a cross at the other end that lays over the sacral area. And then I offer a prayer. It's not just a prayer to make you feel good. It is a heartfelt prayer of invocation, a prayer of petition on your behalf. And I am praying to heaven. I am praying to the divine ones. I am praying for you to have literally Christ come down and enter into you. And I am holding that energy. Frequently, I have people that, excuse me, they experience so much light, they are blinded even with their eyes closed. And they open their eyes later and they say, did you have a spotlight on me, when there's no spotlight in the room? But you create the space and you welcome in that divine energy to saturate you, to move through you, to flow through every heartbeat and every breath, to move through every cell and every part of your body and being, so that you are ignited. It is not just saying, Christ, come heal me. It's Christ, come fill me, flow through me, activate me, restore and realign me back to the perfection that you created me to be. I've forgotten my story. Come and live and dwell in me actively. And the session generally takes 45 minutes to an hour. And most of that time, I am moving energy and I am praying. A lot of times, the next day, I don't have a voice because I am in a petitioning state. But I may or may not touch you. I may or may not place an item on you. I may literally step away from you because sometimes the energy is so intense that it feels like there's a bubble around the person. Because when I call on the gates of heaven to open and the divine light to come down and enter your heart, to sanctify your body, to open you up to all of the wonder that's there, I have to get my human self out of the way. My job is to call it in and hold the space, because I recognize it is not me. And the prayers are inspired based on what this person may require, based on what they're asking for, based on the things that they need to have healed. And I have just seen miracles. That's the only way I can describe it. And yes, I do have people that I may actually put my hands on a particular area, but most of the time, it's me and Christ.
Yeah.
And I believe that everyone deserves healing, but most people don't believe that they deserve to be healed. But Christ doesn't have that thing that says, well, you can only be healed this much because you did something 19 years ago and it's still on my mind and you're still being punished. That's not Christ.
Yeah.
And so when I do the Christ light healing, it is all about the light. Whatever it needs to bring. to bring in, and I'm calling literally on Christ, but I'm on Buddha and Nagas and Mary and angels and archangels and the angels, guides, healers, elders, wise ones, priests and priestesses of old, gods and goddesses of old, the teachers, the knowers, the way showers, the wisdom keepers, all of them are invited in because they're all part of this brotherhood and sisterhood of light. Christ is not the only divine being. So if, when people come in and sometimes people say, well, I don't like it when you use Jesus. And I say, well, you need to leave then, because I'm doing that work. And if you'd like to give Jesus another name, that's fine. But I know what my assignment is. And getting into politics, nitpicking, and having the right vocabulary is not as important as having the right intention. So I need to know what your intention is. And if you are even to receiving the light of Christ, because a lot of people may say they are, but I've learned the mouth will lie, the brain will lie, the personality will lie, but the heart will never lie.
Yeah.
And Jesus speaks to us through our heart.
Okay, getting on to entities that are not Jesus. For a recent birthday of yours, you treated yourself to a Sekhmet experience in Egypt. Could you describe exactly what happened there and what that experience was?
Okay. So I've been working with the Isis energy and the Egyptian pantheon of beings. And I decided for my 70th birthday, I would do a journey. And I had plant medicine that I had gotten from a friend. And I called him and I said, how much of this should I ingest? And he said 2 grams. I heard 4.
Oh,
so, so I cleansed my body. I prepared my altar. I got myself ready all day.
Now, is this before you got to Egypt or after you got there?
This was, no, I was here in my temple.
Okay, all right.
I was in my temple. And so I prepared the plant medicine early in the day and I had it on my altar. I had prayed over it and I had asked the medicine to bring to me what I needed, because I knew for my own personal understanding that every time I move from one decade into another decade of life, it is a decade of immense change. It's just a powerful period for me. So I prepared the plant medicine and I took it. And at one point, I was so high and so sick that because there's no bathroom on my 3rd floor, I crawled down the stairs on my hands and knees because I was afraid to stand up. And I crawled into my bathroom. And at this point, I'm completely naked. It's completely dark in my house. I'm sitting at the toilet with one arm and one foot on either side of the toilet, holding the toilet bowl. And my brain is saying, you can just throw it up. It'll help you. Just get it out of you. And I've got my head hanging in the toilet and I'm throwing this stuff up. And I hear a voice behind me say, open your eyes. And I open my eyes and my entire bathroom was red. It looked like blood was dripping everywhere. And I sat there until I felt like it was safe for me to try and move. And so I moved over to the sink and I'm thinking, I just need to wash my face with some water and refresh myself a little bit because this is getting way too intense for me. And the voice said, look in the mirror. And I looked in the mirror and the goddess Sekhmet was looking back at me. And I realized I was looking through her eyes. and she was dressed in leather vestments. She was holding two curve-shaped blades. She had blood in her hair. And she said, it is a battle between the light and dark, and you have been called into battle. And all I could do was just stare at it. And I felt all of the vestments on my body. I could feel the blood dripping off of my body. I'm being shown scenes of what looked like Armageddon, with people and beings dying everywhere. And I decide that I need to go to bed. By this time, it's like 4 a.m. It's like, I need to go to bed. I need to make this stop. And she says, no. And she showed me, and I didn't even know there was a male lion-headed god. She said, this is our partner. This is my brother. This is my husband. Here, he is fighting the battle also. And he looked very much like her, with the vestments also, with the blades that were bigger, but they were both standing there talking to me. And they said, go and get in your bed. And so I slinked back down to the floor, and I crawled into my bedroom, and outside my bedroom door, there's a landing to go down to the next floor. And she said, stay away from the stairs. They will push you down the stairs. Stay away from the stairs. So I crawled against the wall like a snake and crawled into my bed. And then I get in the bed, and she's telling me, don't close your eyes. The darkness is here. Do not close your eyes until the first light. And so I'm laying there with my eyes open, and I'm having all of these visions coming to me, one after the other, scenes of battle, scenes of me fighting as Sekhmet, scenes of me killing the darkness, scenes of me battling things that I don't even have the vocabulary to describe. And at first light, I felt this energetic switch. I can't even describe it other than to say it was a switch, as if everything turned off. The next day, when I finally woke up, I was in such a state that I couldn't really function. And I couldn't even talk about it for 3 days. And I remember I called my friend who told me to take 2 grams. And I said, I have to tell you what happened. And he said, well, okay, how much medicine did you take? And I said, I took 4 grams like you told me. He says, I didn't tell you to take 4 grams. I told you to take 2. I said, God wanted me to take 4, and I took 4. And that's why it's taken me so long to get back to you. And it was one of the most profound plant medicine journeys I've ever done. I have since stopped doing plant medicine. I literally collected, I had 12 jars of psilocybin mushroom, different kinds I'd been collecting. And I put them in a box, and I drove them over to a friend's house. I said, you can keep them, you can sell them, you can do whatever you wanted to do. I am not to have them in my house anymore. And one of the things that I remember was the most profound thing, that 2 days later, I am in a meditative state, and Sekhmet comes to me, and she says, all right, do we need to do this again? And I said, no, I don't ever need to do this again. And that was when I was told, get rid of all this stuff. That's not what you're going to be doing now. Because I was having clients that would come in and spend the night in the temple, and we would do work, and they would do plant medicine. But she says, no, that's not what you need to do. You need to be working with the light.
Yeah.
So that was December of 2022. And then in December of 2023, I had an encounter with Archangel Michael. And I was told, you need to stop seeing clients, stop doing this work, allow the temple space to go fallow. You've had too many people in there. There's been too much releasing. You can't clean it enough and purge it enough for it to be reprogrammed, and we have to reprogram the space. So I did not go up to do any work for five months. I was not allowed to go into that room in my home for 5 months. And I was in a constant state of transformation. And that was in December of 2023. And I realized in December of 2024 that my body, my being, my psyche, my energies, everything had been realigned. And I was so filled with the work that I was doing that there was no space for the new frequencies to come in.
Yeah.
And I was made aware there was so much inside of you that it took 11 months for you to be emptied out for the thing that we have planned for you to have the space to come in. And so that is where I'm at now, holding that space open. I still see a few clients, mostly friends, that come in, but it has been a transformational journey of me literally surrendering and allowing spirit to work through me. I am very clear. I am a servant of the divine, and I am in service to the divine. It doesn't matter what I think. My job is to remain neutral. Yesterday, I told my friend, I'm Switzerland. I'm not for the right or the left. I'm not for doing anything with anybody. I am here to do me. And in doing me, I am aligning myself with something brand new that is coming through that has never been on the planet before. And I used to tell my clients, imagine that we are all part of a universal symphony, and each of us has a specific note. And if we're not bringing our note through, the symphony can never be completed. Mm-hmm. So rather than me assisting other people, I am focusing my energy on me to refine my note, because I know something's coming. You can't look or be in the world today without understanding something big is happening. You might want to think it's politics. You might want to think it's cultural. It's none of those things. It is the reality that Christ is coming. He is re-entering this atmosphere. The light is saturating the planet. We are all being changed and upgraded. So if you're not sleeping, if you find that you don't need as much food, if you're having weird pains in your body, if you can't remember what day it is, that's all part of this process. And rather than saying, I wish it was back the way it was, welcome it. And I am welcoming it. And I don't know what it's going to look like from day to day. My job is to show up and just hold the space for something incredible to come through.
Yeah. I hate to say this, but we've run out of time.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm a talker.
I was just so fascinated with your journey here. And thank you for taking us through that whole experience. That was just breathtaking. At this point, at the end of each interview, I always ask the guest just to leave the audience with a few words of wisdom. If this is your opportunity to talk to our audience, to say what it is you'd like to leave them with to remember from our experience here.
Thank you for this opportunity. I would like for people to really embrace that they are wiser, stronger, and more courageous and resilient than they believe. That you will never be given anything too big for you to carry. It may weigh you down and take you to your knees. Your job is to get up. Your job is to remember that you were born to do great things. And if you don't believe that for yourself, there's nothing anyone else can say or do that will make you believe it. We are magnificent creations, and maybe our spirit has been here before, but we are unique creations in this lifetime, in this now, witnessing this magnificent transformation that looks like destruction, but it is devolution and evolution, the stuff of life that we're all dealing with. Our job is to find purpose in it. Our job is to find balance in it. And our job is to do the best we can every day without succumbing to the darkness that is trying so hard to overtake everything. And know that you're blessed. Know that you're seen. And know that you are light, because you are.
Thank you for that message. So, audience, as always, take what resonates with you and incorporate it into your life. Put the rest on a shelf until you're ready to deal with it. And until next time, this has been your spiritual journey.